Hello, welcome to Tesella Stone Carvers. Today we're going to be looking at sharpening stone carving chisels. Specifically, how to sharpen the chisel, when to sharpen your tool, and the tools you need to complete the process. So, beginning with how is the most common mistakes to avoid. When you're sharpening a stone carving chisel, you're looking for flat facets on your cutting edge, as opposed to rounded hips. So this is what we're looking for, and this is what we're trying to avoid. The reasons for that is if you have hips on your chisel, when you're trying to cut the hip, the rounded portion will contact the stone before your cutting edge will, and you'll have to increase the angle of your chisel to get a cut. When you have flat facets, you can get the cut you want at the angle you want. Tools you'll need are, this is a carborundum pad. You can also use a diamond pad. You can't sharpen a carbide bladed chisel on a stone, on a wet stone. The carbide is too hard, it'll just dig troughs and ruin your stone. The two chisels we're going to look at are your 1/2 inch flat chisel and your 1/4 inch flat. These are the two chisels you'll be using as a hand carver probably 95% of the time. Later we can go into sharpening different chisels, but these are the tools that you'll have in your hand every day. So for starters, you want to choose the angle, your cutting angle, and then maintain that angle as you apply pressure and sharpen. What you want to avoid is the back end of the chisel moving up and down and rocking. Alternately, you want to avoid continuing to steepen your angle as you use your chisel. The steel, as your carbide shortens, you'll have to remove more steel to maintain the angle that you want. Sharpening is always done with water. I've already had water onto the pad. As opposed to moving your arms back and forth like this, which increases the chance of the chisel changing planes, hold your elbows in and your arms in close to your sides and move the body back and forth. So my right hand is just focused on keeping this angle the same. My left hand applies pressure. My fingers are quite close to the tip of the chisel. Both hands aren't back here because I can't apply any force. And I just want to move my body back and forth, focusing on maintaining that plane. A stone carving chisel, the blade is always in the center of the carbide. A wood carving chisel often will be skewed to one side, or you'll only be sharpening one bevel. Stone carving, if you do 10 passes on one side, you flip it over and do 10 passes on the other side. If you take a close look at the chisel, you can see that the cutting planes are flat, and you can see the angle that they're sharpened at. Now, when to sharpen the chisel, if you have a chip in the corner of your chisel and you're using that as the corner of it for attacking the stone, the chisel will move through the stone squirrely. it'll drive like a car with flat tires. You need that sharp corner, the 90-degree corners on the chisel are very important to maintaining control. Another time to sharpen the chisel is, or something, I guess the effect of sharpening chisel incorrectly is when you first get your chisel, you'll have this nice taper on it. And as you sharpen it, because the steel sharpens more slowly on a carborundum pad or a diamond pad than the carbide does, the tendency is to continue, as your chisel gets used more and more and the carbide shortens, is to keep increasing the angle and keep tilting up this hand because it's taking longer to sharpen, and then you end up with a very blunt chisel. So as you sharpen it and this steel builds up, so to speak, you can use a diamond file, a coarser or more aggressive diamond file to take that steel off, taking care not to hit the carbide any more than you need to with that coarse diamond file. And then once the steel has been flushed down, then you can go back to the carborundum pad or the diamond pad. Common question get asked is, how does the chisel chip? And it can be using it on too hard of a material, but more, just as common is if the chisel twists in the hand when you're cutting the stone, particularly if you have a deep V cut into your stone or the equivalent of, and the chisel is being pushed along the bottom of that V, and it'll just twist in your hand, and that's usually when a chipped corner occurs. So a little bit on different types of chisels you'll find out there. All of our chisels are handmade at Tesella in the shop. We have 3/4 of an inch of carbide insert. A lot of the chisels, stone carving chisels you'll find will have only 1/4 of an inch insert or a 1/2 inch. 3/4 of an inch just will give you more longevity out of your chisel. So if once your carbide is down to 1/8 of an inch, it can be prone for the soldering to not have the strength that it needs, and that last little bit of the tip can come out of your chisel. Additionally, the shafts are high carbon steel, so what that, as opposed to mild steel, and what that translates into is more the force from your mallet being carried through your chisel into your stone. A mild steel chisel can feel somewhat rubbery in the hand. Thanks for watching. For more information, you can go to tesellastonecarvers.com.